Hi, hello. So this is my second time trying to film this video. The first time was like months ago and I finally got around to trying to edit it, and then I realized it's so blurry. My camera did not know how to stay in focus, so hopefully it stays in focus this time. And I was also filming behind like a makeshift green screen and it looks so bad. I'll like insert a clip here maybe now just so you can see how terrible that video was. But then she was like, "Are you Sydney?" And then I started crying. Like a baby, like a little, like, oh my god, that was so embarrassing, and now I'm out of focus because that's how embarrassing I am. But yeah, so we're gonna redo that video, and let me start off by saying hi, my name is Sydney. I have emotional attachment issues to every item that I own. I have a really hard time letting things go if I have like a memory or something to it, and I get emotionally attached easily to many things. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about makeup that I'm emotionally attached to. Surprisingly, it's actually not that much, but I think it's better off that way because I'm gonna have a story for every single one. So yeah, let's just get into why I have issues with inanimate objects. Okay, so the first one is what got me started into makeup YouTube and ColourPop, I guess. I had decided to try some stuff out from ColourPop, and it was my first time, so I wanted to try a lot, as well as the fact that, you know, you get free shipping if you spend over $30. So I don't know what made me think I should get it, but I decided to get the Where the Light Is quad in collaboration with Kathleen Lights, I think. No, this is not her first collab. I don't know. I was not following her at the time of her ColourPop collab, so I don't know what came first or anything. But yeah, this is what they look like. I don't think I really used any of these shades. I think I may have used the shiny ones. I definitely did not use these matte shades. I literally just did a declutter lately, and I just looked in my old Super Shocks just to see if they worked, and they were so bad. So I can only imagine how old these were because I got these in like 2015. So yeah. You know, I bought this quad and I didn't know who Kathleen was, and then I like just looked her up because I was like, I bought this girl's quad, I should like see what she's about, because I kind of knew about Kathleen. I just never really followed her. And then after that I did, and I'm still following her to this day, and I have many more Kathleen Lights collabs since then. I bought this during a time where I didn't have a lot of makeup. I was not as crazy as I was yet. It was kind of like a little bit tiptoeing into the dangerous territory I'm in now. It's like one of the first. That's a very common pattern with like most of these items, that it's like one of the first things I got before I got super into makeup, so it's just like hard to let go. It's mostly just a display piece on my little, it's not a vanity, but just on my shelving, I guess. It just means a lot, and I don't want to get rid of it. But I'm also not going to use these shadows because I'm pretty sure they're really gross and nasty and dried out. But it's still staying with me for life, so yeah. Okay, so the next one is, oh my god, I don't know what I just did there. The next one is this Interstellar palette by Kat Von D, when it was still Kat Von D and not Kindness Vegan Beauty. So this was a Sephora Rouge exclusive, I think, and I clearly liked the purple palettes really early on. It's not that impressive a palette now. I think if I didn't have an attachment to it, I probably would have gotten rid of it. I made the order for this, and I think I was moving out of my college housing when I made the order, so I had the order sent to my house here where I live now. And that was a really just rough year, especially like the second semester. I was just going through a really bad time. The trajectory of my life, of where I thought, I mean, I didn't really have a plan for my life, but it just kind of went in a totally just wild direction that I just didn't expect it to go in at all, and it kind of just, everything was derailed, and it was really hard, and it was just a really rough end of like my first college semester, which I did, and like I did drop out that semester. Actually, I didn't even finish the semester. It was just really rough, and I remember like it was just kind of the beginning of like a new chapter in my life, but not in a good way. Like it's like a middle chapter, you know, when like there's like conflict and you have to like rise above it kind of crap. This first year of college, and it just didn't go the way I thought it would, and everything was just kind of like, it was just awful. I remember just coming back home, and then I saw this here, and like I don't know how to like describe it in words, but I just remember just being kind of excited, like, ooh, it's this palette I ordered, and it was kind of just like, I want to say it's like a bookmark for like, okay, we're moving on and I'm gonna go into this next phase of your life kind of a thing. It's really hard to explain in words. It's more of like a feeling kind of a thing, so and I'm not good with explaining, which is not good either, but I just don't know how to articulate it into words. but it was just kind of like a new, like a bookmark to a new chapter. And then I remember too that that summer, despite how terrible everything was crumbling around me, was one of the best summers of my life. And I remember I used this palette a lot because I was really excited to get it. I liked that there was like purples because I didn't have a lot of purple palettes back then. I think this was my only purple palette. And I was really excited to use it, and I used it quite a bit. This was the palette for that summer. Like, as terrible as points of that year were for me, this kind of... I got cut off. To summarize what I just said, I just basically went through a really bad time. At the end of that bad time and the start of like a new phase in my life is when I got this, and it was just kind of like a nice little just restart, I guess, into that. I'm pausing because I just like words evade me right now. And it also was just the palette that I used a lot during like a really like memorable summer. I'm like getting really upset, I think I'm upsetting myself. I basically went through a lot of change that year, and I don't like change. It's very hard for me. That's also part of the reason why like I have emotional attachments to things and I can't let them go. But through it all, I at least had this nice palette to play with, and it made me happy, so that's why I have a hard time getting rid of this palette, even though I never ever use it. Oh my god, that was like so rough. Okay, so the next two, they're basically, the story behind both of them were basically the same, just a little bit different. But I'm gonna go in order of newer to older. So the first one is this, which is my Modern Renaissance palette. So I don't know if it really matters. I think it's like a story that sticks in my head, so it might be kind of sentimental to me. I don't think so. I think it's just kind of a fun story, but I basically had a really bad day at my old job that I just did not like. I was really frustrated with some people, and I just drove to Sephora on a whim, and this was before Modern Renaissance was like super hyped up and like it was sold out everywhere, and like this was the first launch. And I went to Sephora and I just was looking at it. I was like swatching it and everything, and it was like nice. Like these shimmers are super pretty. And the worker was like, oh yeah, it's our last one. And like I hate that I like gave into it, but I had a decent paying job, so like on a whim I just bought it, and then it sold out everywhere else, and then it became such a hyped up palette. And I did use it quite a bit. Like I don't know if you can see, but I did hit not pan, but I'm making dents in like some colors, which like I don't really do nowadays because I'm insane and I have more palettes than I will ever use. Yeah, that was just back when I had like a job I didn't like. But this palette also means a lot to me because it's signed. It's autographed by Jen from the YouTube channel From Head to Toe. And it's not just like, oh, I saw Patrick Star at Disneyland and I took a picture and, you know, whatever. Like, yeah, that's cool and everything. That seems so random and out of context. I mean, not to brag, but like I did meet Patrick Star like a long time ago. But I didn't even know who he was, so like, you know, as cool as it kind of was, because I kind of knew him, but I didn't really watch him. So like that was cool and everything, but I like didn't really watch him, so it didn't mean a lot. Whereas with Jen, she is the YouTuber that taught me how to do makeup for like me being an Asian girl. Because at the time I was watching a lot of YouTubers, and you know, most of them, especially during like years ago, are gonna be white. And it was really hard to find someone who looked like me and did makeup that worked for like, you know, like monolids essentially. It was hard for me to find something that worked, especially when I'm practicing makeup for the first time and I'm trying these techniques that only work for people with actual eyelids, whereas I have not decent eyelids to work with. I have a whole playlist that's called Learn to be a Girl, and it's just a bunch of videos from Jen about how to do just basic parts of your face. She's the one that taught me how to do makeup. I wouldn't have even thought to make a channel if it weren't for her, because I wouldn't have even learned how to do my makeup like decently enough. There's a lot of YouTubers that I subscribed to back in the day, and I unsubscribed just because, you know, I'm not into it anymore, but I'm still subscribed to her till this day. And when she was pregnant with her second child, she said that she was going to be in Hawaii, and I got super excited, so I did what I always do, and I sent her a DM, and I was like, hey, I work at this store, I'll be working here on this day, if you want to come by, I can like hook you up with some desserts. I'm so sorry, uncle. I always do it. I always just try, because it never hurts to just try and send a message, but I just figured she wasn't gonna see it, she wasn't gonna come, because I do it a lot, and it never really pans out, and like, you know, whatever, at least I tried. And then that day, like, I knew I sent the message, and I was kind of checking, but I also just wasn't really expecting her to come. I had a line. It wasn't long, but I'm the only cashier in a small store, so it just feels kind of overwhelming. and then I saw an Asian girl walk in. I worked in like a touristy area, so there's always a bunch of Asian girls coming in, and I also just can't really see well. Like anything past my arm length, I can't see it at all. So I'm really bad at like making out facial details from far away as well. You know, I kind of saw her, but I was just like, whatever, it's just another tourist, and I kind of like looked back, and she was pregnant. But I was like, that's not, no, like that can't be Jen. Like she, like, you know, I really didn't think she was gonna come even though I sent the message. But then she just kept standing there and like kind of looking at me, and I was like, could it be though? So then I like jammed through my customers and like I rang them up all fast, like, okay, thanks, bye. And then when the line went away, she like looked at me and she was like, are you Sydney? And then I started crying like a little, like a baby. I really didn't mean to. Like, I did not think that was gonna be my response, but I think I was just super overwhelmed because, like I said, I wouldn't know how to do makeup without her. Yeah, I guess like this big part of who I am is like thanks to her, and like to meet her in person was just so unreal, and it was crazy. But you know, because I didn't expect to see her that day, I didn't have anything for her to sign as a tangible proof that I met her. I asked her if she's gonna do a meet and greet while she was here, and she said, like, you know, maybe, and she did. So that day I was ready. You can actually see me for a little bit in her vlog. It's pretty cool. If you blink, you're gonna miss me though, but it was pretty awesome. You know, I had my second moment with her. She signed my palette. I got another picture with her, but it was just as ugly as the first one. Well, I'm just as ugly as I was in the first one. But I also got a picture with Ben, which was cool, and he was super nice and sweet. And yeah, that was just my super long tangented story about how Jen signed this palette. And, you know, even though it's cool to get any YouTuber signature, this one was just a little bit extra special because she just means a lot to me. I also do have her highlighters, like from the Pixie collection, but she did not come out with that at that time. I have them now. If she ever comes back to Hawaii and does a meet and greet now, of course I'll go and get those signed. But for now, this was all I had, and this is what I had her sign. And so even if I hit pan on these eyeshadow colors, I'm not getting rid of this ever. This carton is gonna stay with me for life. Like, I will never get rid of this. This is just so... This was already a special palette to me, but it has just been made even more special by the fact that Jen signed this. So I'm just like, it's never leaving me. It's never leaving me. I got my palettes mixed up. I claim I'm so emotionally attached to these products, but I realized that I forgot somebody and that I mixed up my Modern Renaissance with my Bon Bon palette, because I said that this palette and the one I was gonna talk about are similar, but in reality, it's this one and this that are similar. So we're going to talk about that now. So basically the only thing that's special about this palette is how long I've had it and the fact that Jen signed it. But anyways, I guess I can talk about these kind of at the same time, then I'll just kind of point out the differences. These are the first two like brand new palettes that I bought, because I did buy like the Nude Tude palette from somebody at my high school because there was like those like resale shops, but I never even used that palette that much. So this was the first palette that I ever bought. This was the first palette I ever bought in my life. I think it was a good starter palette. I mean, I would not buy something like this for myself now, but there's like, no, there's not like, there is only 3 matte shades in here, and one of them is white, and one of them is black. But then I think it's just harder to like mess up, you know, it's pretty stupid proof in that aspect. So I think it was pretty good for me to have as a starter palette, just because it's pretty easy. You know, you have your brow bone shade, your crease color, and your darkening color, and then you can just choose a nice shiny lid color. It's just basically hard to mess up. The first time I went to California, I took this with me, and you know, I did all my looks with this, and I thought I was so cute and so nice, but it's just like, I mean, it was fine. It was the same like basic smoky eye every day. Yeah, this was like my first palette. I was so excited for it. It was like all I was using for a while until she came along. She has been super used, as you can see. I mean, you can't tell as much on the inside, maybe from this white shade, but that's because I was doing some experimenting with this, so that's a different story. I don't know what prompted me to buy this Too Faced Chocolate Bonbon palette, but I got it, and like, I think this was, again, like, these two were like before I got crazy into makeup, like before I went to college? Maybe while I was like in college, but still not quite down the rabbit hole of like makeup. It was like the beginning of the rabbit hole, but I didn't know I was in a rabbit hole. Yeah, so basically I bought this palette. I think I wanted the chocolate bar one because, you know, everyone had the chocolate bar, but something about this, Like, I just got this one instead. It really could be because the pans are hearts instead of rectangles, honestly, because I'm just irritating like that. And I think because there was more mattes in here, so I could kind of start to experiment more than I could with this. I use this a lot more every day. This was my everyday because this was my only palette, but this became my everyday because I just started to like this one more. There was more for me to try out and do, even though I also just did the same look with this every single day. It was basically the same look as this. But this also came with me when I had my little Friendsgiving trip with my friends in California. And I think when a palette travels with me somewhere and it's a significant palette, then like I'll remember it. Because I think even this came with me to California too, honestly. Like, they were a team all together. Yeah. Yeah. They were, like, these 3 palettes have traveled with me. I mean, I've also been to London, but, like, if I'm being super honest, I don't remember what I took with me. I think I took, like, 3 or 4 palettes just to give myself the, like, option and variety to do whatever I want and whatever I was feeling. So it's not as significant as when, you know, this was the only palette I could take. Or, I mean, yeah, I guess these were the only palettes, or one of the few options I could take. But yeah, I guess the fact that these were the ones that I chose, even though it was basically the only ones I had, like, it just stood out more, and I truly loved them, and that's why I took them. Whereas when I went to London, I kind of just took things just to take them, and not because, I mean, like, obviously they were good, but they just didn't really, like, it's not because they were my favorites, and I think that's the point I'm trying to make. But yeah, basically these 2, I just were my first 2 palettes. They were like my everyday, they were all I had for a while, and they both went traveling with me, so that's why they're both very special. But she's a little bit more special because she came with me. No, because this is my first palette. They both mean, it's like having kids. Actually, no, I want to stop that analogy because I don't know what having kids is like. Basically, I had this one first, and it means a little bit more to me. Just a little bit more, but not that much. Just so, my heart, yeah. I like how all these things are eye products. Like, I think it just really shows how I think it really shows how I just gravitate more towards eye products than anything else. Like, you can just have fun with eyeshadow palettes. The fact that these are 4 eyeshadow palettes that I'm probably never going to throw away, and they're going to die with me. So I hope you enjoyed learning why I have issues and exploring some of my issues with me. But I thought it was just a fun little video concept to do, and to just share some of my most meaningful makeup with you guys. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed my ramblings and my stories, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!